Are there any drummers in the house?
I play percussion. That's because you couldn't play anything else.
Shut up. Come here, dude.
Hey, man. Did you touch my drum set? I am warning you right now, if you touch my drum, I will stab you in the neck with a knife. Not quite my tempo. It's all good. No worries. Here we go.
Hey guys, go do me a quick favor. Go subscribe to the podcast, positive reviews on iTunes, also good ratings. Also, if you could go like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, YouTube, and you can also go to our PayPal page if you want to support the show financially. So there's multiple ways you can help out, and I will love you forever if you do one or all. It's your choice. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads. My name is Daniel, and this is episode 105. Yes, with an actual guest. And it is with David from Casebass Drum Company. So, if you're not familiar with Casebass, they make these fantastic boutique suitcase bass drums. And they look rad. I mean, they look so nice. I mean, the detail that goes into it it's impeccable. I mean, it's just like, mwah. So it was great to have David on the podcast. We talked about his company, and we got into some, it was just a good conversation. I'm on business right now, so I have a good internet connection, and it's kind of quiet, even though you probably hear some like downtown traffic of Raleigh. But yeah, it was great to do the podcast again, get back in the game. So here it is, episode 105 with David, Casebass Drum Company. Boom. Check it out. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads podcast, and I know it's been a minute, so I'm back. So I am joined by David. Oh my god, I just blanked. Luge. Did I do it?
Nope.
Damn it. Lodge. We just talked about it.
Loggy.
Oh.
Fifth time's a charm, though.
Yes, I'm notorious for. You said it. I even wrote it down. And I still screwed it up, so,
No worries.
It's good. One day someone's going to get super pissed and be like, all right, I'm done. Click. This is over.
No, I'm not that sensitive at all.
Okay,
Don't
cool.
worry.
How's your day been, my friend?
Good, man. Just busy. Extremely busy, as usual. Very fortunate to be busy, but... Mm-hmm. The days are getting shorter and shorter as far as like workable hours, it seems. But yeah, man, my day's been good. I've been working on a bunch of new stuff that I'm about to release, and so that's been very exciting work, and just been pushing through orders. Yeah, cool.
And anyone who just like started listening, David is with Casebass Drum Company, right? Did I
That's
say
correct.
That? Okay, I was like, I got to get that one right. So
you got that one right.
Yes, that's the important thing. So
yeah.
Out of most things, I found you through Instagram. I want to say it might have been Josh from Drummer's Corner had posted something of yours. I'm like, oh, that's so rad. So you're making these high-end bass drum case. I guess it's a side kick. Is that what it's called, or sub kick? For that
Casebass.
Oh, case. But like. Isn't like a certain name for it, I guess?
A lot of people call them suitcase kicks.
Okay.
It's a very popular name for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know there's always some type of like, niche kind of term for certain drum things, so I wasn't sure if there was like another sub, title for that. But yeah, I found it. I saw a post. I'm like, that's really rad. So I'm like, how did this come to be? Like, what's the,
you're breaking up on me a little bit.
Damn it. Still good?
Sorry, bro.
It's all right.
I think it might be my end. Let me move the Wi-Fi. Hold up.
Okay.
All right. Let's see if that's better.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What was the last thing?
So what was your question?
So how did your company come about? Like, what was the light bulb that went off in your head?
Okay, that's a good question. So basically, I bought a really small car, and I was very excited about that very small car. But I made a very poor choice because it could not fit my drums in it. And obviously, I wanted to keep the car, and I wanted to continue gigging as a drummer, so I had to find some sort of portable drum solution. And being a normal drum consumer at the time, I had searched pretty much every single, portable drum kit, small, light travel kit, sort of gizmo, gadget, innovation, what have you. And out of all of them, I felt like it was either not portable enough and the sound was good, or it was extremely portable and the sound wasn't good. And anything in between tended to come off very gimmicky, and none of it really had any style. I'm really big on aesthetic and the look that a drummer portrays when they're on stage. I think that's really important to, kind of like the presentation, the overall presentation. And so I had a buddy, who was using a suitcase as a kick drum. Obviously, this is, a really old technique going back to the 20s and 30s where, jazz drummers would use a half-empty suitcase as sort of a kick drum replacement. And so I started looking at suitcase drums in general and the overall design. And I just have one of those weird minds where I kept seeing flaws in the design and wondering why it couldn't be this way or that way. And so eventually I figured, okay, well, I'll find a high-end suitcase kick drum maker, and, he'll have fixed all these problems. He or she will have fixed all these problems. But that didn't exist. There just wasn't anyone out there doing it. And so eventually I was just kind of like, you know what, I think I can do this on my own. So I made one for my own personal use. And, I had a lot of trial and errors when it came to, little features, how to get it to sound right, how to, marry the shell itself to the suitcase. And then eventually when I had perfected it, I took some photographs and sent them out to some of my drummer friends, and, they all were like, you need to make one for me, blah, 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 blah. And then eventually it just kind of turned out, I was like, I should just start making these for my friends. And then it kind of just exploded from there. Once everything got on Instagram, I kind of realized this was turning into a drum company. And then it's just been, pure chaos ever since.
Pure chaos. So is now, is this the 9-to-5 job, or is there something you still have to do on the side to pay the bills?
So I used to, this was a side gig at one point. Now I have another side gig it's kind of swapped, where my main job has switched to my side gig and vice versa. And I plan on in about maybe 3 or 4 months, hopefully just venturing solo off. But, just as a fledgling business owner, to have a job that can provide benefits and things like that, where normally as a business owner, you have to provide yourself. There's definitely some benefits to at least having a part-time side gig. But the way everything's going right now, I'm hoping in about 2 to 4 months, I'll be breaking off and expanding, bringing on team members, and then just doing this full time. So I'm very excited about that.
That's awesome. And so what's the time span? I mean, when did you make that first kit to now? How many years is that,
Oh, it's been about a year.
About a year. Oh, wow.
I celebrated my first year. Yeah, it's new. It's brand new. I think I want to say I made my first kit in sometime around May.
Nice.
And then brought it onto social media around June or July. And so I kind of marked my social media emergence as the birthday of the company. So going by that date, it's been a little over a year now.
Nice. So let's rewind. I kind of want to change up gears a little bit, learn more about you. So are you from you're from the DC area? Is that where you grew up and was raised?
No, I grew up in Florida.
Okay.
The nation's armpit. God's waiting room.
Who was
Tampa
it?
Bay.
Yeah, the American's Wang. I think someone called it one time. I think
that's a more eloquent way to put it, I would guess. Yeah.
I think The Simpsons said that. I don't know.
I grew up there and went to school all over and traveled around a bunch, and then eventually just landed in D.C. It seemed like in my head, it seemed like it would be like a mini New York City, and that was very enticing. And then when I got here, I realized there was something totally different. But the city's amazing, and I kind of got sucked in, you know.
Yeah, it's like a northeastern kind of city like New York or Boston, but it's got like the southernness as well. So it's an interesting place for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely odd. I think that's why I'm drawn to it.
Yeah,
it's kind of its own thing. A lot like Florida. Florida's kind of like its own planet too.
Oh yeah, totally.
This tends to be a more liberal version of that.
Yeah, totally. Because Miami is completely different than Orlando or Tampa or Jacksonville. They're all like their own little like countries, really. I've noticed. But so did you come from a musical family or anything like that, or?
I'm actually the first musician in my immediate family. I think I have a distant uncle who played in a band called Shooting Star, which was like, I guess had their heyday in the 60s or 70s. Other than that, I'm literally the only artistic person in my entire family.
I hear you, brother. I'm the same way. My dad is a mechanic. My mom's a teacher. My sister, I'm not sure what she does, but I should have said that. That was totally mean.
You might want to find out.
No, she's a stay-at-home mom. I just play bust nuts with her all the time. I'm like, got it made, just staying at home watching the kids. It's hard. I'm like, whatever. But she's probably not listening.
Hats off to all the moms out there.
I know. Yeah, my wife's a stay-at-home mom too, so I can't really say much. But it's fun being from not a musical family. Because I find I had friends who their parents were musicians or their dad was a drummer, and there was a lot of pressure to be a decent musician where like the expectation with my dad is like, oh, you could play, good job, So was that the same thing for you? Better. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. They were like, oh, you can like actually play an instrument. This is amazing. They would all gather around in amazement. And it's like not even that impressive what I was doing, but because I was the only musician, I definitely had a leg up. Whereas I've had friends who also play drums who have had family members who were drummers, and there's a lot of pressure, man. There's a lot of pressure to like attain. It almost seems like their parents want them to be better musicians than they were, like living vicariously through them. So there's like a lot of pressure to do well.
Yeah, totally. And yes, it's nice to have the gear accessibility, but to have the the pressure of, oh, you did that wrong, you did this wrong, nitpicking, I guess. But so who was that? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with you. It's it's probably the best position to be the only musician in the family.
Mm-hmm. So who was that first drummer that caught your ear?
Travis Barker, 100%.
Nice. Have you seen Blink-182 in concert?
Yeah, I saw them. A long time ago. I want to say it was like 12 or 13. Completely obsessed, and actually have like a couple, drum heads signed by Travis Barker.
Oh, nice.
I was a huge fan. I mean, the first venture into custom drums I ever did was, like designing a kit and making a kit exactly like Travis Barker's, putting like the Cadillac emblem on my front bass drum hoop. Like I wanted to be him when I was 12, 13.
Nice. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I saw them in concert with Green Day. This was like, I want to say 2001 or 2. And that was when Green Day was like kind of on the, downcline, I guess you could say, and Blink was like the headliner. But it was, watching Travis, I'm like, where does this, how in the hell is this guy playing this stuff? It's crazy. It's like 5 drummers.
I know. He's fast and clean, and he's got really cool style. So he's definitely got that rock star vibe that I think a lot of young people, like young musicians, would have been drawn to, especially at that period of time. That's why I got so excited when he started following me on Instagram, because I'm like, that's like my lifelong dream, is to build something for Travis Barker and let it come full circle,
Oh, that's so awesome. He follows you on Instagram. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah, it just happened randomly. I was very excited about that.
Oh, if I could get Stuart Copeland, that's like if I could get one drummer to follow me, it'd be Stuart Copeland. And I've like tried. I'm like, he just won't do it. Like it's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you win some, you lose some.
Exactly. So getting into so I guess did you play in a lot of punk bands or cover bands back in the day?
Yeah, first band I ever played in was in the eighth grade talent shows in a Metallica cover band called Malaria, the capital M and a capital A. We were awesome, and that's how I got my first girlfriend. And then I was also in a Blink-182 cover band called Exit Route, which is a horrible band name, and that ventured into a band that I ended up staying in all the way from the 8th grade to my freshman year of college. So it was like a long-term band, and we were very, very, very serious. Nice. And obviously, we went to college and kind of ended up parting ways. But yeah, I was kind of in the same band with the same, 3 other dudes for basically my entire music career up until college.
Nice. Yeah, I was in a Metallica cover band as well, and a Blink-182 cover band. It's funny, the guy I played, music with all through high school and some of college. He's now the bass player of Three Doors Down, which is hilarious to me.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's crazy.
His name's Justin Bilton, and he was a guitar player. So but he, how the music world is. It's all luck sometimes more than anything. And he just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And I was playing bass for Three Doors Down, which is, I'm like, hey, I know that guy,
Yeah, I love it when that happens.
Yeah.
That's honestly that a lot of what's happened with this company, in my opinion. I mean, look, I do a lot of hard work and I try to constantly innovate, but I have to honestly admit that a lot of it's just been luck. Like someone sees something and tells somebody, and then you get in the certain circle of people, and a lot of it is just who or being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, totally. And it's it's totally different, which kind of segues into the whole social media world, because it's changed the game for a lot of people, myself included. To have your stuff seen by the industry, and you're like, oh wow, because Aquarian, is that your drumhead company you prefer, is Aquarian?
Yeah, I use both, but I tend to lean towards Aquarian a lot.
Yeah,
it's just preference.
Yeah, but it's great to see them take interest in your product, which is it's great to see that reciprocal kind of relationships that can be built on Instagram, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that a single social media platform would be like that. It's been insanely huge for my business. I want to say almost 90% of all the sales I generate are linked through Instagram. Nice. So people visiting our site or our temporary seller site through Instagram. And then companies like Kickport, Aquarian, the Big Fat Snare Drum, Index drums, anybody whose products we're using or incorporating. It's been amazing to be able to kind of get that immediate response from them,
Yeah. And so, did you do custom building, it sounded like you made a Travis Barker, replica kit, was that a hobby of yours, just kind of, doing your own drums?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just tinkering in general. I was also really big into saving up for a really long period of time and investing that money into a custom drum company where I could spend a lot of time designing it, as well as just drum crafting in general. When I was in high school, I saved up for over a year to buy a Spawn. I don't know if you've ever heard of Spawn.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Great drums.
Back in the day, they were the cutting edge, they had the edge vent snares and the split snares and, stuff that no one was really finishes that no one was really doing at that time. Odd powder coated hardware. And anyway, and I spent longer than it took me to save the money designing that kit. And I still do that periodically. I designed a DW kit about 3 years ago. And that took me a long time to design too. And it's completely one of a kind. It's never been replicated. It's actually the only GW kit with tube lugs on it. Which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah, I had to get like special permission. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, just the design is really what kind of drew me towards making drums throughout my life. It wasn't really working with tools or, you know, that's kind of just a means to an end. It was more just the, you know, loving the design of something and the aesthetic of something and being able to kind of craft the sound, palette of sound that you want.
Yeah.
So it's definitely nice being able to have that at your fingertips now with some of the resources that have become available, you know?
Yeah. So getting into, you know, your drums, you know, so when someone says they want a kit, what's the process? Is it, you know, a lot of emails, or you do phone conversations like, you know, I want this color case with this color hardware, or do they kind of just let you kind of just do your thing, you know, and just hope it's right, you know?
So it's actually funny you mentioned that, because what I was talking about before with ordering custom drums, I always had this experience where, and I'm not saying this specifically about Spawn or DW because I have too many custom drum sets I could name, but you would get all this money together, right? And I promise I'll circle around to the point. But you get all this money together and you're ready for this major investment, and then you pick something out, and usually it's not a very warm process. The guy on the other end doesn't typically seem too excited. It just sounds like it's just another build for the list. And then it's kind of like, cool, I'll hit you up in, 4 to 6 months with a picture of what it looks like. And so when I set out to kind of make this a company, and I realized like, oh, this is going to be a company, I can kind of have the ability to choose what the culture is going to be like, right? I had control over that. I decided that the ordering process was going to be the custom experience I never had and that I always wanted but never got. So, a customer will reach out to me. Typically they'll hit up our seller site, which right now is Etsy, just because our website's still being developed. But so for now they'll go to Etsy and they'll see the general listings, and they can either reach out to us before or after they make a purchase. And they reach out to us because obviously it's in the instructions. When they reach out, it's just an open dialogue, what they're looking for. I'll ask them questions. Generally that's over the phone. I kind of like to get to know the person. But I'm also asking them questions that are a little bit more broad, like, what snare drum do you plan on pairing with this? What's the setup look like? What's your current drum setup look like? Can you send me pictures of what you want to pair with this? Do you have any pictures of mine that you want it to be like? And kind of, so not only I can build the kit to what they ask me for, but I can also anticipate some needs that they may not, realize they want. And so it's kind of a collaborative process. They're like, okay, I want a blue case with, chrome hardware. And I'm like, oh, well, what if you did blue with chrome and nickel because you have this nickel snare? And what if you did this? And then we kind of bounce back and forth, and it becomes like a process where the guy who's making it is almost emotionally invested in it as the customer is. And so it's a super fun process. Some customers I talk to, once or twice through the entire build. Some customers I talk to literally every day. Some customers I talk to about, what they had for breakfast or how their day was. And some people I talk to less. It just, they can be as involved or as little involved as they want. And I can confidently say that a good portion of them have walked out, like actually ending up being my friend afterwards, just because you communicate and collaborate on something so large. It's almost bonding in a way.
Yeah. And, the other thing I've noticed, following you is you like to work with, it's Cherry Hill Custom Drums, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone who's a hardcore artisan.
And that guy makes some, very nice, drums, but, even down to like, hi-hat clutches and, even like drum keys, it's like, ooh, like the one that Mike Johnston, he puts pictures up on his Instagram, like here we are in China, and it's just a drum key, but it's more than that. It's a piece of art.
Oh yeah, his products. John's like an alien sent from space. Like he's on a totally another level when it comes to drum making, and it's I could probably find the parts that I need, made in China or whatever that would probably do the job. But I think what makes me want to work with John is just kind of like being overall drawn to being obsessed with quality and having quality parts. He makes and produces those parts, but he also has that same obsession. So if I need something specific, I know that he's going to be just as detail oriented as I am. I mean, that guy can make tension. He'll make you tension rods. If you order a snare from him, you can literally have him he'll make the screws that attach the lugs to the shell. There's not a lot of people out there that can make a drum front to back.
Yeah.
Aside from the drum heads and the snare wires. Okay?
Yeah.
But I'm sure he could probably make snare wires if he wanted to.
He could probably do drum heads at one point. The next thing you know, like, dude, you're doing drum heads? What happened?
I would not be surprised at all. He's just a true artisan. And I've been working with him almost from the very beginning. I want to say I was probably a couple months, 1-2 months in tops, when we started working together, and it's been a good partnership ever since.
Yeah, I love seeing the community of drum builders and drummers that's on Instagram, and it's very collaborative, and it's very supportive. It's not like how I grew up in high school, which was in the 90s. So it was no social media, there was no nothing like that, and it was very competitive, and there wasn't just a lot of common knowledge being shared about how to make a kit, how to do this. And now it's it's different. You're like, hey, I don't know how to do this, and someone's like, oh, I do, and they'll help you out. And it's not a competition.
Right. No, it's huge. Honestly, there are so many people in this industry that I've been so fortunate, because there are people out there that have helped me, and they did not need to help me at all. It benefited them in no way whatsoever. A lot of them did that without expecting anything in return. It was just for pure love of drums, and I think people in this industry can kind of connect on that. Like if you can feel when someone's just as obsessed as you are. Yeah. And there are a lot of really, really amazing, super kind people that I've been linked up with, and it's been monumental for where I'm at right now, just because this platform, it's insane.
It is insane. It's sometimes I don't even quite believe it at times. I'm like, no, this isn't real, but it is, and it's very liberating at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. It's been great.
Yeah. So getting back to your kicks, like just the quality is so, like, every little detail, even like the handle, it's perfect. And, it's like almost like when I look at it, like I'd be afraid to play it because it looks too nice to play.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, that's the balance, right? It's got to be, beautiful but durable. That's always the battle.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, I feel bad. It's like I'm breaking a law or something by playing it. But but it's when a couple of videos you've posted, it sounds fabulous. It sounds like an actual kick drum. And so like you said, it probably took a lot of trial and error. But do you think you've kind of perfected it, or is it something that's it's an ongoing process?
So I have definitely had a ton of breakthroughs when it comes to the sound. And I think the sound is a big part of, again, why I've been so fortunate to be so busy. What I basically discovered when I was looking at these kind of from a further view back was that they're basically resonating chambers. They're like a speaker box for a subwoofer, right? You put a sub in your car and you put a box in it, and that box has the right amount of air pressure. You can make a sub sound bigger, deeper, more tone. And so I started to realize if I can manipulate the airflow, this case is basically sealed off inside of a vacuum, right? So if I'm on stage and I'm playing one of these and I put a mic up to it, it's not getting bleed through from anywhere else on the stage because that drum is closed into basically an echo chamber. And then you're just putting a mic in the middle of that. And so what ends up happening is I've created a design where I create this very specific type of airflow and this very specific type of air pressure. And every case is calibrated to have that perfect airflow, that perfect air pressure. And what ends up happening is you take a small diameter drum, and small diameter drums for kicks are great because they're clean. They sound very tight and crispy. And that's because there's not a lot of head to be wobbling around. There's a number of reasons why small, like if you've ever played a 20-inch kick, it's always like the cleanest sounding kick you've ever heard, but they lack low end. So what I realized about midway through redesigning it was you can have the clean sound of a small diameter kick and the deep sound of a larger diameter kick, which is kind of a weird situation where you think portable, air quotes, portable drum solution, usually you lose sound, but in a lot of scenarios, the clients that we have are studio owners because again, you have the ability to lock that drum off from the rest of the room and manipulate the sound inside of it. Workhorse national act, touring drummers, because again, miking it up is super easy. It's small, but you can manipulate that sound. It's not as much of the street corner busker as you would think it would be. But yeah, I definitely think that I'll never say the design is perfected. I will say I've had a lot of really, really cool breakthroughs. I've been very lucky to kind of stumble upon some of these, and a lot of them I've put a ton of work into. I think I'm always adding features. Features is kind of what I like to rest on. I definitely didn't invent the concept of the suitcase kick drum. I can't patent that. Yeah. But the features is definitely what I lean on, the things that I've brought to the suitcase kick drum. And that's always going to be constantly perfected. I hope, I hope I never plateau. I hope I can always add to it.
Yeah. It's like being a drummer. You're never really complete as a drummer. You're eventually, you may hit a lull, but it's just this, as a drummer. So
absolutely.
But going back to the look, I think that's, part of the selling point is, it stands out from anyone else that's doing suitcase, bass drums. So when I see any of your pictures, like I'm like, oh, that's Case Bass Drum Company. That's one of theirs. You can look at certain drums and know who it belongs to. And so aesthetically, you've set yourself up to have that kind of signature look, which is, smart, but it's also just really, it's rad.
Appreciate it. That's an ultimate compliment, man. Honestly, that's a really, really nice thing to say. It makes me happy to hear that the look is recognizable, because there are definitely a few people out there doing suitcase drums, and I don't want to be different for the sake of being different, but I definitely want my products to stand out. With the amount of work that goes into them, I want that to be able to be recognized from a glance. And a lot of times you're 40 hours deep into a list of builds, and you kind of lose perspective sometimes. I'm restitching the side of a case and I'm going, is anyone ever going to really notice this? Or is this just for me? Is this just for me right now? And sometimes it is, sometimes I'll point things out in the comments of a photo. And if I had, no one would ever notice, but to be able to notice some of those details and for it to be recognizable makes me feel a little bit better about the time I put in.
Well, it made me wonder, where did you actually get the suitcase from? Is it you build the suitcase yourself, or do you have like someone it's like, selling suitcases?
Well, so it's a combination. So I have two series now. the vintage series, which is a vintage suitcase, typically anywhere from the 20s to the 50s, sometimes 60s suitcases, depending. I have a kind of a nice little group of private collectors that I purchase those cases from.
Okay.
Sometimes I just cruise the internet for them. And then I have a very specific way of completely restoring the vintage suitcases. So again, restitching the sides, completely custom interiors. I haven't sold a case base in probably the last 15 kits that has not had a custom interior on it.
Nice.
So that's probably just going to be a staple feature just because it makes everything so much better. But yeah, like re-oiling the outside, just completely restoring them. And then I obviously convert them into a suitcase. And then on the other side, there's something called the Custom Shop series, which is relatively new. And basically that's a handmade suitcase. So it's made from scratch. It's made out of Russian ply, which is basically a voidless plywood. It's basically like the lightness of plywood, but the quality and the strength of solid wood,
Nice.
which is really cool. And then that's wrapped in any leather, any color, leather, vinyl leather, Tolex, tweed, whatever you can really think of. You can get stripes. So I'm working on a case right now where it's navy in the center and the sides are tweed, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can choose the hardware color, you can choose the interior. So that's just like whatever exists in your imagination can be created. And then the vintage series is we repurpose vintage suitcases.
So in the head sizes, I guess they're typically 18. You go bigger or smaller, 16 probably. But have you tried doing a bigger version, like a 20-inch suitcase? Out of curiosity.
So the vintage series generally are 16s. I won't source a vintage case if I can't fit at least a 16-inch shell in it. That's kind of my minimum as far as the quality of tone. Custom shop series, you can control the size of the case. So you can control the size of the shell that you want. So those are on a standard end, 18-inch shells. I have been experimenting with larger diameters. I'm building a case I was actually talking to Seamus about this. I'm building a case for Buddy from Love Custom Drums. Have you ever
Buddy
heard of
Love. Oh yeah, he's a great dude.
I can never say enough good things about Buddy, but
oh yeah, he's a generous dude.
Yeah, he's a really cool man. I'm making a case for him that will fit a 24-inch shell inside of it. So it's going to be stupid. It's going to be absolutely stupid. It's going to be matte black leather with chrome hardware, and it's going to have a Love custom drum shell inside of it, and it's just going to sound completely insane.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's really what the client wants. But the general average for a vintage series is a 16-inch shell. The general average for a custom shop series is an 18-inch for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking because I was just at my parents' house recently and just looking for we were looking for my Nintendo 64 because my kids are like, ask me all the time, "What's your favorite game play?" I'm like, "It's GoldenEye." Anyway, so they have this old set of suitcases. My dad holds on to everything. He won't throw anything away, and so I should take a picture of it, send it to you, be like, "Hey, Dad, you don't need these." David does.
You should.
But yeah, I'm like, and it was a big suitcase. Remember we had traveled, funny enough, up to DC, and it was like this giant suitcase. I'm like, why did you get that? He's like, I needed the space, So yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We do occasionally, very occasionally, a series called the Heirloom series, which is it's exactly that. If your family member, your great-great-grandfather has a relic suitcase, it's a little bit more labor intensive because it's usually a lot more restoration.
Yeah, totally.
A case from a normal person where it's in a attic for 60 years is going to look different than from a collector who's taking care of it. But we'll do a full restore and convert it into a kick. So that person can continue to have that suitcase in their family, but it can actually have a purpose.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Because functionality. And it, even if you weren't a drummer, it'd just be a good home decoration too. You'd be like, is that a bass drum that's in a suitcase? And then why are you not using that? And then, there it goes. So, that's how life works.
Absolutely. I definitely have a few clients where, it's kind of the crown jewel of their living room,
I could imagine.
Which is cool. Yeah, it's cool.
So, what's the future for, Bass Case? What's the, what's in the works other than Buddy Love's, I don't know why I call him Buddy Love. His last name's McElroy. So, but
I call him the same thing. That's what he saved in my contacts as.
Oh, okay. It's just Buddy Love.
Yeah. It just comes naturally, I guess.
Yeah. It just flows, just Buddy Love. It's, it's just a great name. Yeah. So yeah, but
I got a few things in the works. The first thing I want to do that I kind of have mapped out is to start having inventory available on my site when my site is hopefully going to be launched in the next month or two. There's going to be a kit builder option. So a lot like DW and Pro website, where you can go through and you can kind of choose the color you want, choose the mounts, the configuration. You can be creative. And then it'll give you a generalized quote for that, which will help obviously both ends, me create the build list and them figure out what they want.
Yeah.
So I will have, when that website is up, some kind of standard staple models. As of right now, every single case is custom made to that client. There's never been a repeated, type of suitcase that I would build and wait for a client. The client will purchase it and then I make it. That formula is going to get changed a little bit. You're going to start seeing some of our products in music shops throughout the Northeast, a couple in Memphis, some in California. So it's a little early to talk about that, but I would expect in the next coming months to start seeing those pop up at some of your more boutique, bespoke type music shops.
Yeah. I had a couple just pop in my head right now. Yeah.
Those are probably some of them.
They're probably, you're probably right.
There are not a lot of them, but yeah, a lot of my favorite music shops will be carrying them. And hopefully going to bring on a couple more people to help out with the process and expand. And there are a lot of other things outside of suitcase drums that have been in the works as far as accessories, sound accessories, gadgets, nesting drums, snare drums, things like that I've been making for a while, but are kind of have more of a presence in, some of the stuff we're putting out. So there's definitely a lot to come. Everything's sort of blossoming right now in the next 2-3 months.
Yeah, because I was just popped in my head. My mom has, with that set of suitcases, she had like this. It's like a baby blue. I guess it held like her curling iron, toiletries and stuff like that. I'm like, that would be a perfect snare drum, because it's about 12 inches, long, maybe a little longer, and but it was kind of rounded. I was from the 1980s, I guess, so, it could be a perfect like snare drum and just like, here's the bass drum, here's the snare drum, and now it's the hi-hat. Yeah.
No, I actually know exactly what you're talking about. They're, like round, like a semicircle shaped kind of like round with the flat bottom. Yeah. Yeah. So I've played around with turning those into snare drums. Unfortunately, it did not do what the kick drum does. Yeah. As far as creating a general sound, and I didn't want to make something. I never wanted to fall into like he makes drums out of luggage because he can make drums out of luggage. I wanted it to always have a higher function and a purpose. So what I ended up doing was saying, well, why don't I just turn those into snare cases? So I've done this a few times with clients. They'll get us a vintage series or an heirloom series case, and I can find a matching hat case usually to go with it. Nice. I'll line it with the same material that is lined, the custom lining on their vintage series case, and make a custom snare case. So you're basically rolling up with, a snare case on a shoulder strap and your kick drum, your hardware is inside the suitcase. And, you can roll in with your entire kit in just a couple of hands and it all matches.
Yeah, that's, matching is important. I'm one of those people like right now I've got Sabians and Zildjians on my kit, and it's like, I can't do that. It has to be all the same. I don't like having different drum heads. I can't have an Evans and a Remo and a Aquarian. This is sacrilege. But,
I know.
I'm the same way.
I've been the same way.
Yeah.
I've done that for the longest time. I have a set of Meinls. I have a set of Sabians. I have a set of Zildjians. Occasionally I'll mix them together, but generally I keep them separate. Matching is huge. And so a lot of that comes through with some of the cases that I'm doing. For example, I'm doing a custom shop series case for a gentleman. It's seafoam green, the suitcase itself, with chrome hardware. It's kind of funky, but it had a cream handle. And the guy wanted a snare and a floor tom and a throne. So what I ended up doing was I took the leather that the cream handle was made out of, and I wrapped the snare shell in it.
Oh, nice.
So you have a cream leather snare. The floor tom, which was a nesting floor tom, so it opens up to fit the snare inside of that, was seafoam leather wrapped. And then I did a canister throne to fit the cymbals and the hardware. And the body of the canister throne is seafoam, and the top is cream leather. So everything kind of had that super, super, super matchy, tight feel to it. But yeah, I'm all about matching for sure.
I love continuity. It's not just for drums; it's for life.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Well, what I like to do at the end of the podcast, and I don't know why my voice made that kind of weird. Is my voice changing? What's going on?
Are you hitting puberty?
I hit puberty, I guess, tonight. It's really weird at 34 years old.
It happens late. It happens late.
It's later and later. Is I like to ask some random questions that I'm just curious on the answers. So it's nothing like, crazy, but first question, New York style or deep dish pizza?
New York style.
That is the correct answer. There are no correct answers, but that is the correct answer.
I mean, you put sauce on top of your pizza, on top of the cheese. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's a pie at that point. It's like a it's like a cake. A meat cake.
It's like a bloody cheese pie.
Bloody cheese. That's perfect. All right. So next question: beach or mountains?
Beach all day.
Okay.
Tropical beaches, man.
I live in the mountains and it sucks.
Hey, I go to the mountains all the time, to like Skyline Drive up in Virginia. That's my happy place. I love the mountains, don't get me wrong, but a beach is, that's my happy place.
I used to be very anti-beach, and now I am pro-beach. Guess because I've lived in the mountains so long.
I've never met an anti-beach person.
Well, I've switched sides. So like 3 or 4 years ago, I'm like, you know what? I actually do like the beach. So, I don't know. Just
well,
for
welcome.
You. Yes. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, it was, if anything, I like to be in a town. Like DC is kind of like my town where you can walk around, you see historical sites, and, that's my thing to do. But, you can't necessarily take a 4-year-old like, check out DC and all this stuff. They're like, okay, where's the beach? Are we going to the beach? Is there a beach close? Like, kind of,
That was definitely me as a child, for sure.
Yeah. So city or country? That's a little switcheroo.
I'd say probably city. My brain wants me to say country because that seems like the right answer. But I enjoy people, being around people, and the culture that tends to be in cities, and the overall level of culture and just food and options and
totally.
Yeah.
You put me in Rome, that'd be like if I could live anywhere, that would be the city.
Rome's amazing.
Yeah, we were there for 3 days and like we saw like that much of it.
Yeah, man.
If I could get back, it'd be awesome. So, coffee or soda?
Coffee for sure. Yeah, man. Espresso.
Oh, okay. Espressos are good.
Just condense it, put it in a syringe. Whatever you can do. It's whatever has the highest caffeine content. That's what I'll take.
Yeah, I'm a soda person, but like it doesn't have the kick and they took the one that had a lot of kick. Was, remember Jolt Cola? I think it's the East Coast thing, yeah. And it had like twice the caffeine, and all these like teenagers were bugging out on, heart palpitations or something like that, and they had to yank it off the shelves. I'm like,
or like Surge.
Oh, Surge! They're making that again. You can get it on Amazon. Like,
oh my God!
You can get a whole case of, I believe it's like 16 or 18, and it's the 16-ounce bottles, I think, or cans, and you can get it shipped straight to your house.
That's dangerous.
That is dangerous. I might have started something.
Maybe. Yeah, that may not be good.
The hipsters or the bros? Which one would you rather hang out with?
Oh. I don't know. Bros seem to they seem to be a little bit more loose. Hipsters can be a little judgmental, but bros can also be super dumb. That's a tough one. I mean, what's the scenario? Like, am I stuck on a desert island with them, or is this just like a night on the town? Like, what are we talking about here? Give me some. Night
on the town. Let's go with that scenario.
Night on the town, bros.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Night on the town, bros, all day.
And I guess, I don't know, the desert island. That's a tough one. I can't even decide which one would be the correct answer. After a while, the bros would get too intense, and then the hipsters, you'd just be worn down by all the cynicism and, sarcasm. So, I don't know. I might lean toward bros as well. I hate to say, but yeah.
I'd probably just like swim out to sea, most likely.
Well, I think you could change the bros over a little time. I think they would, not be so, do bro, ish, but, you never know.
Never underestimate the power of pack mentality.
That's right.
Especially in a bro.
And last one, and this is always my favorite. If you were forced to listen to a straight week of jazz or a straight week of country, which one would you choose? You had no other options.
Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Jazz. Country. I'm in a band that you could consider country, Americana, folk type stuff, and that's really, really fun to play. Like bluegrass and whatnot. But yeah, I couldn't do country for a week straight. I think I'd lose it.
Yeah, I would too. You need to go on YouTube and type in Buddy Rich country music, and like he has this brutal takedown. He was on some talk show like Dick Cavett or something like that back in the day. He like just destroys country music, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, there's two different types of country music. There's like actual like country music, and then there's the kind of top 40 glorifying things that I think are strange to glorify, like farm equipment and misogyny, and I just never really vibe with that.
Yeah.
I like old school country where they're like telling a story and it's like heartbreak.
Like,
I can dig that for sure.
Oh yeah, like Johnny Cash or Willie Nelson, John Denver. They had principles behind their music versus just redneck guns and God and tractors. It's like
absolutely. I could listen to Johnny Cash and that type of music for a week easily. Oh yeah, for sure.
It's funny. I think I've had one person say country. And I'm like, all right, this is over. And I'm like, I'm just kidding, but it's I'm from the South, and I hate country music. I just I can't stand it. That was the first question I asked my wife when I met her was, do you like country music? And she's like, no, I hate it. I'm like, all right, we can keep talking,
Yeah, no, that's a big one, honestly. I had a complete no country rule for the longest time. I just had a horrible, it just gave me a weird feeling every time I heard it as a kid. And, growing up in Florida, the type of crowd that was into it, they always took it way too far. They wear like cowboy hats. We're in like Tampa, and they're wearing cowboy hats. I'm like, there's no farm.
There's
there's
no
the nearest
cattle.
horse is at Busch Gardens. What are you doing right now? So I think that definitely gave me the same vibe. I think a lot of people from the South have that. Some of them either love it or they absolutely despise it. I was definitely in that camp for a long time.
I was in that camp too. So, to close up, I didn't ask you. I asked you your favorite drummer, but I didn't ask you about your drums. So it sounds like you have a expansive collection of drums. How many drum sets you got? Or do you not want to answer?
Well, I've slimmed down.
Oh, okay.
I know, right? Well, so complete kits right now. I have a really rare hand painted pearl. I want to say it's a Masters, but it was like the early '90s Masters kits when those were just like really badass. I have a Ludwig Centennial, which is a very odd 100th anniversary Ludwig kit that came in super weird sizes, which I was originally drawn to. That's the first kit I ever got that I didn't customize. I have a custom Spawn kit, which is a turquoise glass glitter with powder-coated white hardware. So this was made in like the 2006, 2005 era when that type of look was very popular and it was very like cool to have, white hardware or whatever. But now it's kind of not as much my thing. I like more classy looks now. My current kit, which is my love, is a one-of-a-kind DW Collectors in a finished ply wrap called Gold Galaxy. It's got chrome and brass hardware. So it has chrome tube lugs all around. Like I said before, it's the only DW kit in the world that has that. And then it has gold true hoops all around it. And I rock that with a 14x8 chrome over steel DW snare.
Nice.
And then I have a ton of snares, a ton of cymbals, just way too much. And I've probably had three or more kits that I've had to trade or buy or sell or whatever to be able to move on to the next one.
Yeah. And thinking about some of the kits you're making, I would love to see some type of like acrylic, case-based kit. Just saying.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that. So I'm building a case. Do you know who Chris Dave is?
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm building a case for Chris Dave, and he wanted something very classy on the outside, and I'm paraphrasing, but like a spaceship on the inside, and so, which is very Chris Dave, and so I'm still building it. But it's a brown leather with brass all over the outside, and then the inside is a clear acrylic shell with it's like a bluish, like baby blue acrylic resonant hoop, and then this like super funky print all around it that you can kind of see through the acrylic. Nice. And I haven't fully set it up yet because a lot of it's still being, like some of the components are being fabricated, but acrylic sounds actually really nice from the tests that I've done. So acrylic will definitely be featured in future cases.
Nice. Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, again, I appreciate you being on. This is, I hadn't done a podcast with an actual guest in about 6 months because I took a bit of a hiatus. It was fun to get back into the groove. It took me a minute, I'm like, oh, this will be easy. Nope, you're going to stutter your words and you're going to screw up some things. So, like his name, I'll never forget that part.
At least you did that right out of the gate, though.
I did right out of the gate, yeah.
We got past it. We moved on.
Yeah, we,
It's like playing drums when you haven't in a while. Like the first 20, 25 minutes is always super rough, and then you get into it.
Yeah, totally. Well, cool, man. Well, so everybody can go check you out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter?
Yep, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We have an Etsy shop up, which is our temporary seller site. It's just etsy.com/shop/Casebass. And then the official casebass.com should be up in a couple of months.
Nice. Well, again, thank you for being on, and I look forward to seeing all the new creations and all that fun stuff.
Appreciate that. Thank you for having me. Honestly,
Yeah.
I love talking about this type of stuff, and other people in my life, I'm sure, are sick of hearing about it. So it's nice.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's nice to be able to talk to people.
Yeah, my
nice,
wife,
sure.
She's like, I get some of it. Some of it's just right over the head. But But also something I've been wanting to do for the Instagram is I want to let you do an Instagram takeover one day, so you can show the shop off and little peek into your world. So
that would be awesome. I'd be honored to do that.
Yeah. So it's something I've been wanting to do for each guest, so they can kind of put their little stamp on their podcast or their episode.
Definitely, yeah. Cool. I would be absolutely honored and thrilled to do that. That would be so much fun.
Nice. Well, cool, man. Well, again, thank you for being on, and we'll see you guys later. So I'm going to stop the recording real quick.